Right. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين أبي القاسم محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. ما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome to Tuesday night Dua Tawassul program. Inshallah, we'll start with the dua, which will be recited by Brother Rahil Nathani. Bismillah.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك وأتوجه إليك بنبيك نبي الرحمة محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. يا أبا القاسم يا رسول الله يا إمام الرحمة يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي بن أبي طالب يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا فاطمة الزهراء يا بنت محمد يا قرة عين الرسول يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيهة عند الله اشفعي لنا عند الله. يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها المجتبى يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا عبد الله يا حسين بن علي أيها الشهيد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن الحسين يا زين العابدين يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها الباقر يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا عبد الله يا جعفر بن محمد أيها الصادق يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا موسى بن جعفر أيها الكاظم يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى أيها الرضا يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها التقي الجواد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن محمد أيها الهادي النقي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها الزكي العسكري يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وسيع الحسن والخلف الحجة أيها القائم المنتظر المهدي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى يا سادتي ومواليا إني توجهت بكم أئمتي وعدتي اليوم فخري وهاجتي إلى الله وتوسلت بكم إلى الله واستشفعت بكم إلى الله فاشفعوا لي عند الله واستنكذوني من ذنوبي عند الله فإنكم وسيلتي إلى الله وبحبكم وبقربكم أرجو نجاة من الله فكونوا عند الله رجائي يا سادتي يا أولياء الله صلى الله عليهم أجمعين ولعن الله أعداء الله ظالميهم من الأولين والآخرين آمين رب العالمين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
Santam. Jazakumullah. Thank you very much for that beautiful recitation. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase your tawfiqat. Before I begin, let's make dua for all of those people who are in need of dua, who are suffering, struggling, maybe to their finances or whether health-wise. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provide them a quick and swift recovery. There's request for dua sihat for Dr. Parvez Hamdani, as well as for Sayyid Hassan Raza, Ibn Sayyid Farhat Hassan, and all of those people who have asked for us to make dua. Let's recite this verse from Surah Namal together 5 times. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أَمَّا يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ يَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ 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 وَيَجْعَلُكُمْ خُلَفَاءَ الْأَرْضِ إلههم مع الله قليلا ما تذكرون اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Let's also remember those who are no longer with us, those people from our members who passed away. There is a brother who passed away today, Sayyid Mazhar Bas. Inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him a place in the Jawar of Masumeen alayhi salatu wassalam, as well as all of the marhumin who have left us throughout this year because of pandemic and otherwise. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase their darajat and give them a place in the Jawar of Masumeen. Please recite a Surah Fatiha for all of the marhumin. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين بالقاسم محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم ولا نساء من نساء عسى أن يكن خيرا منهن ولا تلمزوا أنفسكم ولا تنابزوا بالألقاب بئس الاسم الفسوق بعد الإيمان ولم يتب فأولئك هم الظالمون صدق الله العلي العظيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. The verse that I chose for tonight's brief discussion is from Surah Hujurat, ayat number 11. It's a lengthy verse. There's a lot of discussion on it, but I will be very concise with it. It says, believers, let not a group of people mock one another. Perhaps they are better than you. And let not women mock each other. Perhaps one is better than other. And do not defame one another. nor insult one another by calling nicknames. How terrible is the defamation after having true faith. Those who do not repent are certainly unjust. Surah Hujurat, chapter number 49 of the Holy Quran, could be easily named Surah Akhlaq of Quran because of the contents of the surah, which highlight the very important aspect of our lives, and which is the akhlaq, which completes our faith and completes our iman. Some of the key words that are being used in this ayat is talmizu, lamaza, to defame someone on their face. Then you have humaza is also used in the same regards, but it means to defame someone in their absence, as you may have read in another surah of Quran, where Surah Humaza talks about this. And then the word tanabazu, meaning calling someone with insulting nicknames. Now, look at Quran when it was revealed. There were bigger problems in hand. There were much bigger issues that needed to be addressed. And even if the surah is something which is revealed later on, let's say, for example, in the Madani life of Prophet, still we find that there were other very important issues that were lingering around. To address such critical things which have to do with the character and the behavior of human beings at that time in that particular society, it's mind-boggling. And that's why this surah, or this this entire Quran, is not for that particular group of people or that particular land or that century or that era. Rather, it is for people of all ages. When you look at the previous verses, they were discussing about how to maintain brotherhood. This verse is mentioning, how can you, with things which dissolve that brotherhood. So if you have established brotherhood, now if you do these things, then you can easily dissolve it and get rid of it. Also, when we look at how some of the ayat, the initial ayat of Surah Hujurat, they talk about the concept of peace, reconciliation, while this verse is talking about the root cause of fitna, that which leads to bigger corruption and the riots and disorder in the society, which is mocking, defaming, and calling names. So that's why it might seem like a very juz'i, partial issue, but it is a root cause of something which is much, much bigger. So one of the blessings of acting upon the laws of Islam is keeping the environment clean and healthy, and it provides prevents disorder in the society. And it's not just the physical aspect of how we should clean and keep the society pure from any sort of things which might pollute it, or from pollution, right? Not just saving our environment, but also environment might be clean, but the hearts are dirty, hearts are polluted. So therefore, both cleaning the environment and preventing it from pollution is important. Same goes for the hearts. They have to be kept from being polluted. So mocking and defaming are only examples here. Any talk or movement which can destroy brotherhood is considered to be forbidden in Islam. Mocking others and making fun of them is one of the sins, apparently, but it encompasses many other sins within itself. For example, defaming and insulting and revealing other people's defect leads to causing discord, leads to ghibat, leads to hatred, running out of words here, corruption, vengeance, sarcasm, and all those things. It becomes so easy for us to leap from one thing to another once this is established in the society. So it says the root cause of mocking, number one, sometimes it is caused by wealth. Quran says, woe to every scandal monger and slanderer who amasses wealth and counts it over and over. That's Surah Humaza. وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ حُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ الَّذِي جَمَعَ مَالًا وَعَدَّدَهُ. So here it points out the root cause of this mocking and root cause of calling names and defaming others. One of the root causes of it is, one of the things that it causes that to happen is the wealth, and that is being amassed by the people, and especially by the person who counts it over and over again. So from this aspect of counting it over and over again shows you the love for the wealth. So for example, if I have wealth, but it's resting somewhere, if I keep on going back to it and keep on counting it, shows the greed that I have, and maybe because how I acquired this wealth and how I'm afraid of losing this wealth. So with all of those characteristics in mind, Quran is saying that this is one of the reasons for their mocking others. They think now they're superior, they have wealth, they're better than others, they can easily mock and defame people. This is not the cause, but it is one of the root causes of it. Sometimes, and you'll be surprised by some of the reasons that I'll mention, but if you put together all of these reasons, you'll see how it all makes sense. And then look at it individually, how people, and it would not be true for everyone, let's say. So, well, everyone who has wealth is going to defame people. No, that's not a kulliya, for example. That's not rule of thumb. Similarly, is the second one. Sometimes it is caused by knowledge and scholarly personality. Someone who's amassed a lot of degrees and has become a scholar. Quran points out they were far too content with their own knowledge to pay attention to the messengers. When our messengers came to them with illustrious evidence, they were encompassed by the torment of the mocking our guidance. So فَرِحُوا بِمَا عِنْدَهُمْ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ وَحَاكَ بِهِمْ مَا كَانُوا يَسْتَهْزِعُونَ. Surah Ghafir, ayat number 83. So a lot of time, knowledge becomes the reason that we mock others. This could be a very fundamental issue when it comes to someone who acquires knowledge. What is the ultimate result of knowledge? Knowledge is something which makes you humble. Refer to Surah Alaq, begins Iqra, ends with Wasjud, right? First ayat of Surah Alaq is Iqra, read. Last ayat is Wasjud, do sajda. That tells you what? Tells you that when you read and you acquire knowledge, you're so humble that you put your forehead in prostration in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't become arrogant. So one of the things that should be gotten rid of through this ilm is your arrogance. Ilm should not make you arrogant. Ilm should make you humble. But you'll see that people who have acquired knowledge for other reasons than serving humanity, they'll be reluctant to share their knowledge, and also they'll think that they're superior, better than others, and they'll call people with names and mock them. Sometimes it is caused by physical strength, as Quran points out about the people of Ad, and they're bragging. Who is more powerful than us? وَقَالُوا مَنْ أَشَدُّ مِنَّا قُوَّةً. This is in Surah Fussilat, ayat number 15. So because they possessed physical strength, right away, they would be mocking others, ridiculing other individuals. Number 4, sometimes it is caused by the apparent state of believers, as the unbelievers in the time of Rasulullah used to make fun of the followers by saying, we see that only the worthless, hasty ones, the lowliest among us, follow you. وَمَا نَرَاكَ اتَّبَعَكَ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ هُمْ أَرَاذِلُنَا. So the state of Muslims, in the believers in the initial days of Islam, was very frail, right? They were very weak. And so right away, people on the other side, they'll be mocking them, saying only weak people follow you, O Muhammad. This religion is only for those who are weak, not for those who have some sort of strength of their own and understanding and sense of knowledge. Those who are well versed in ulum and sciences and whatnot, they won't follow you. Only people who follow you are the weak, mustad'afin. They'll come and they'll become your followers. People of intellect will not come and follow you. So that was the state of the believers initially. So a lot of people were refrained from coming to. So they were mocking them. Sometimes mocking others is caused due to enjoyment and having fun. And we see that all the time. This could also include, some of these satirical plays or the, shows that are made to mock people. Now, to what extent it is allowed and not allowed in Islam, that is for another time, another place, fiqh lesson. But that sometimes it is done out of enjoyment, and we all enjoy it. We all watch it. When someone is being mocked, for example, and being ridiculed, these sort of shows are around, and we don't even make a big deal out of it. But it eventually, um, seed places a seed in our hearts that maybe something like this is permissible and allowed. Number six, sometimes it is caused due to the love for wealth and power. A group of people used to reproach Rasulullah in regards to zakat. Quran points out they blame you about distribution of the welfare funds. They're pleased when you give them something from it, but if they receive nothing, they become angry with you. Ayat number 58 of Surah Tawbah, وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَلْمِزُكَ فِي الصَّدَقَاتِ. So they become angry. Lamaza is the word yalmizuka, which is being used over here, which was also used in the initial ayah, is, to call names, is to mock others and to ridicule and become angry because now they're no longer receiving anything. When they were receiving, they were all in favor. But as soon as they didn't receive anything, because of variety of reasons, maybe there aren't any funds available, maybe they're, out of funds, for example. And so as soon as the wealth, as soon as the help is stopped, right away you'll see people start calling names. Sometimes it is caused due to ignorance and ineptitude. People are just ignorant about it. They have no idea that this is something which is to that extent forbidden, not allowed, and the severe consequences of it. And sometimes the cause is due to show off and excuse to offend others. For example, says in Surah Tawbah, those who mock the voluntary donors from among the faithful concerning their charities. As for those who do not find anything except what their means permit, they ridicule them. الَّذِينَ يَلْمِزُونَ الْمُطَوِّعِينَ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ فِي الصَّدَقَاتِ. So a group of people come and they donate. And another group of people look at their donation and they ridicule it. This is what you're going to give? Is this what you're going to, go ahead and voluntarily give? So this is caused by the show off and to offend others. Now, all of these put together, these 8 things that I mentioned, put together, become the reason for mocking and ridiculing. All of these are different causes that are mentioned according to the ayat of Quran. So one of the things Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did after Bi'that was to change hideous names of the people and the places, since that could have been also a subject of mockery. So a lot of people had all sorts of names prior to Islam. And so Rasulullah said, well, let's change these names before they are subject to any sort of mockery. Also, Aqil, brother of Imam Ali, والسلام, walked in on Muawiyah, who ridiculed him by saying, Salam upon whose uncle has been cursed by Allah. And then recited, Tabbat yada Abi Lahab. Abu Lahab being the uncle of the Prophet, and similarly, uncle of Aqil. Hazrat Aqil responded by saying, peace be upon the one whose aunt was such, and recited, وَمْرَأَتُهُ حَمَّالَةُ الْحَطَبِ. That your aunt, who was the wife of Abu Lahab, was from that family as well. So this was one way of, responding to the ridicule that was done by Muawiyah. There are many messages that we can derive from these ayat of Quran, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that there are severe consequences of mocking others, ridiculing them. For different causes of mocking have different consequences. But when a person mocks due to wealth, show off, and love for riches, the consequences are very severe. I'll conclude with these ayat of Surah Tawbah, ayat number 79 and ayat number 80. I'll just recite the translation for you to further look into them. Those who blame the voluntary donors from among the faithful concerning the charities. And as for those who do not find anything except what their means permit, they ridicule them. Allah shall put them to ridicule, and there is a painful punishment for them. The very next ayah says, O Muhammad, whether you ask Allah to forgive them or not, or if you were to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive them 70 times, if you were to beg Allah to forgive them, Allah will not forgive them, as they have disbelieved in God and in His messenger, and God does not guide the evil doers. So severe is the punishment that even someone who's the biggest of the intercessors, Rasulullah, is doing the, and of course Rasulullah will not do intercession of such an individual, but hypothetically speaking, if Rasulullah was to do intercession of such an individual, according to this ayat of Surah Tawbah 79 and 80, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not forgive the crime of mocking someone due to their showing off and ridiculing the voluntary donations of the people, which also reminds this today was celebrated as a Giving Tuesday, where different charities are established to go ahead and give thanks after the Thanksgiving weekend. So make sure that you support all the causes of Masjid-e-Ali as well, Sadiq School, and all the other programs that are supported by Masjid-e-Ali, the constant help that is provided to community members who are in need on regular basis. Homes and Same Sadat is distributed amongst the honorable Sadat who are in need, as well as the sadaqat that we receive, the loans that we give to people who are in need. Not that we give, this is something which people have given to us. We just become the means of then further distributing it to those who are probably in need. So you continue to support and inshallah continue to give, so that this is the best of the investments. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Mutawajjih ziyarat. Assalamu alaikum ya Rasulullah, assalamu alaikum ya Nabi Allah, assalamu alaikum ya Habib Allah, assalamu alaikum ya Khiyaratullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, assalamu alaikum ya Abu Abdullah, assalamu alaikum ya Rasulullah, assalamu alaikum wa ala jaddika wa abika wa ala ummika wa akhik wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, assalamu alaikum ya Gharib al-Ghuraba, assalamu alaikum ya Mu'in al-Du'afa wal Fuqara, assalamu alaikum ya Shams al-Shumus wa Anis al-Nufus, أيها المدفون بعرض توسى ابن موسى ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك صاحب الأسر والزمان. السلام عليك إمام الإنس والجان. السلام عليك شريك القرآن. أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك وجعلنا من أعوانك وأنصارك ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلى الله محمد وعلى